Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the conversation today and our continued conversation around grief. We're going to talk about the overwhelm of grief today. Alana, I believe last episode you used an analogy about those floodgates. And when we feel so much grief, sometimes we don't want those gates to open. We're not sure what happens on the other side. If we feel like we do open up and lean into feeling grief, and talk about the overwhelm of grief. And I know this particular piece of grief you're passionate about. I'm going to turn it over to you in just a minute. I will say that I can just relate to this feeling of leaning in and how easy it is to shove it and not look at it. Because I think for most of us, we can get away with that for a little while. But the fear underneath of if I let this go, if I let this out, even just a little, I'm going to drown. I'm going to absolutely drown, or I'm not going to come back. There is no coming back from this. We're so afraid of the power of this kind of emotion that grief can hold. There's so many different aspects of grief. That's what we're going to tackle today in our series these next few weeks.
Yeah, I love this one. And just as a foundation, a reminder that grief is not just you're sad. It is you literally moving through and processing the death and ending of hopes and dreams and trust and your relationship as you thought you knew it and your sense of identity and roles. There's so many layers and pieces to grief. And so I just want to hold that and the sacredness in this healing and the complexity and the weight of grief. And when I think about this, I will see in clients this fear of it being too much, but I'll see this oscillating between two extremes. By the way, I am passionate about this topic because this is what my brain wants to do and loves to do. And I will catch myself doing it subconsciously. And then I can catch it. And then once I get that awareness, I can step out of it. But this so can be my default if I'm not careful. And so with extreme emotions, not just grief, but extreme emotions, we can get this oscillating between this shutdown, walling off, I'm fine, or even just shutdown disassociation. And we'll go more into like what that can look like because even that type of disassociation can look very different on the surface. And this flooding, I'm overwhelmed. And I like the word flooding. So, flooding is a clinical term that we use when you have too much emotion and chemicals in your body, literally chemically, your
And in
body
your brain,
is, yeah, in your brain, you're flooded with these chemicals.
the
And
periaqueductal gray.
exactly. And so when we say flooding,
Yeah.
like, yes, we were using the analogy of the floodgates and the dam and the wall, but literally there is this flooding of chemicals in your brain and body that it makes sense why your body is going to want to go into that shutdown to try to manage it.
Yeah.
So just an overview of the shutdown really quick is that can look like detachment, numbness, intellectualizing, moving on too quickly, and often it's mistaken for strength.
Pause right there. That one I see and have experienced. That one can be so tricky where it can come across as you're being really strong. We even tell ourselves that I'm just being really stronger. I'm getting through and I'm doing really well. You're not, because it doesn't go away. You don't just put a period at the end of this. It's always a comma. And so, yeah.
Well, yeah, Amy, you know this, that I literally caught myself doing this yesterday. It's easy when we're in this disassociating of like, I'm in the fog, I can't get out of bed, I'm not doing anything. It's really painful.
Mhm.
That's really easy to see that shut down and be like, oh, yeah, that's not good for me.
Yeah.
But this other type, this is where I go, is it's intellectualizing is a great way to put it,
Yeah.
is I go into overfunctioning. I go into this intellectualizing. I like, okay, this hard thing happened, but I need to just do boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to go do my dailies. I'm gonna go for my walk and I'm gonna create a new course and I'm gonna do this. And like
Busy.
my brain gets really busy and I come up with all these things. And guess what? Now I don't have to feel the hard thing that happened because I'm just like plowing ahead and moving forward. I'm actually not dealing and feeling all of the emotions.
No, and it's gonna come out literally sideways if you don't, and I love that you brought this up, and I know we're going off a little bit on a side tangent around this, but I just feel like this one especially, and maybe I'm genderizing here, but I really do see a lot of women do this and do it really well. To
Yeah.
give ourselves a lot of credit, like we can, and maybe it is just rationalizing, justifying, but it's this over functioning. I'm doing really well in spite of all this other really hard stuff until it starts to come out sideways. And really briefly, because I don't want to go too far off, but I just had an experience where I was doing this, grieving, thinking I'm doing really, quote, well by being strong and holding it up and staying strong for my son and da 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 da. It literally came out sideways and my rib coming out. My back side left rib came out. The most massive pain. And again, even that I noticed and had this whole experience of, okay, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to fix the pain. I'm going to make it go away. I'm going to make this all leave. And I went and even used healthy healing tools to try and make this leave. And in my experience, what I was reminded of is, oh, first of all, this is grief. And I need to welcome the pain and lean into it, not make it go away. And that's what
Mm,
we're doing when we are trying to be really strong, is we're essentially still trying to make this pain go away rather than experience it, feel it, lean into it, like we're going to be, like we've been talking about and are going to talk about over these next few episodes. So I
mhm.
get it. It can happen so sneakily.
Well, when I was Marcoing you this morning and this came out of my mouth and I was like, oh, like it was an aha for me. I said to you, I said, it feels so much better to be in this place of feeling empowered than it does to sit in the pain of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And when I said that, like the tears just opened up. And I realized at a whole deeper level of like, yes, this place of strength. And there is a time and season for that. There have been times that I've needed that to carry me forward. But in this particular case, I need to feel these feelings and I need to sit in them and sit with them. And that doesn't mean that I have to drown in them. So, like swinging the other way,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
see a lot of clients who, when they start learning on the importance of feeling their feelings, in the attempt to be really good at that, they almost open up these floodgates and they allow themselves to feel the feelings, but they do it in a way of they just like sledgehammer down the wall. And then they're thinking about the feelings all day and feeling the feelings all day long. And they are just drowning in the feelings because they think that, well, this is the way that I get through it. So I need to just journal all day long and I need to think about it all day long and I need to feel sad all day long because I'm so sad right now anyway. And so there almost is this like opening up the flooding to too much.
Yes,
You
yes,
can have these two extremes of too much and too little, and neither are healthy.
correct, correct. What's coming to mind is the analogy that I learned in brain spotting when my training was like, it's like a fire hose with this type of modality of healing where we can process these really hard feelings, but we put clamps on the fire hose. And we're like taking off one of the clamps. So water's still coming out of the fire hose, but it's not swinging us around and spraying other people and going all over the place. And I really love that visual. I tell this to my clients all the time because I feel like it captures really also physiologically what we're doing with the PAG, the periaqueductal gray. We're not opening it up so that it just floods everything. We do need to put some clamps. I think what happens is when we're not using our skills, our coping techniques to stay in window of tolerance, because remember, window of tolerance is an absence of negative emotion. It is utilizing some of these clamps. and not just spraying all over people and saying I'm just grieving either, because I see that happen too. So yeah, we're letting some of it out, but we're not spraying it all over. And that takes practice, it takes skills, and it takes learning some of these skills.
Mhm. And I'll just validate around like, there's a reason why we oscillate and why we can go to these two extremes and why you might find yourself bouncing between the two extremes.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we do that is if grief is too much, our brain might send signals of like, shut it all down. It's too much.
Yeah.
But when we try to connect with the pain, then it can feel like it's overflowing. And so we're going to go into maybe some ways to make it a little more manageable. And I love the clamps that we can put some clamps on. You can put some clamps on. So, yes, I can heal. I can feel the feelings, but I can do it in a way that is manageable and I can actually handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't do that and we just keep oscillating, that actually will keep us stuck.
Yeah, it does. You can still function. So one of the things that I remember thinking, feeling, experiencing, and I hear this from clients too, is if I open that up, if I lean into this, like y'all are saying, I can't function. I'm not going to, I
Yeah.
still have to be a mom. I still have to work. I still have to, right? All of these things. And so there is this very real, and sometimes, like you said, we have gone into overwhelm and that fire hose is spraying and we haven't functioned. And so our brain knows this. It knows, hey, if you do that again, you're going to be in bed for 48 hours and now your kids don't get fed or whatever that experience was. So I want to validate that too. And yet, like you're saying, it's turning on the faucet just a drip.
Mhm.
When you know you have a freeze coming, if you live in a cold place, you just, so your pipes don't freeze, we turn it on just a little drip. What does that look like? I guess we can give some ideas. I don't
I was going to say, because
think
Amy,
there's
they're
right
probably
or
like,
wrong.
yeah, they're like, Amy, you tell us what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like.
I think it's so different for every one of you. What does your drip look like? That I just want to encourage you to be creative and tap into yourself because it can be different. It can be just placing your hand literally over your heart and feeling it, which is what I did in my healing session when I popped my rib out and I was trying to make this pain go away. I placed my hand over my heart and I just breathed and I saw some other things. I saw some other pieces. I had some other awareness come to my mind just by placing my hand over my heart and breathing. It doesn't have to be anything huge or big. Journal maybe for 10 minutes or just do a thought dump rather than journaling. Sometimes I know that word's a trigger for some of you, but I don't I don't necessarily think it needs to be one particular thing. I think you can get creative. It's the intention. I guess that's where the word intention is coming to my mind. If you set your intention to, okay, I'm leaning into this with the drip, whatever that is, will, I think, accomplish that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a lot of clients in different stages of life. And I notice some of my clients who have the hardest time healing are the ones who are home all day long and not leaving the house, whether it's they're a stay at home mom or the kids have all grown and you're in a stage of life where you don't need to leave the house or you work from home and it's basically you and your computer. And the reason I see that or see this in particular is these clients have an opportunity to think about it all day and to be in it all day.
Mm-hmm.
And our body was not made to be in trauma all day, every day. And when you first learn about the trauma and you first are starting your journey, it is very normal that it's going to constantly come into your mind all day long. And part of your work is building that muscle to not think about it all day long and to set a time side times to do some really specific healing. So I like how you said, like, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to journal, or I'm going to sit and hold my hand on my heart. But then there needs to be a period where we put it in a box and we put that box in a really special place, this is metaphorically, and then we know that we're gonna go keep doing that work, but we also then allow ourselves to keep doing and keep functioning.
Mhm.
And so when you have a job that forces you to leave the house, or you have things needing of you and requiring of you that move your brain out of thinking about it. And yes, when it slows down, your brain instantly goes back to it. That's normal.
Yeah.
But there's something about being in it all day long that is not good for your health or your nervous system. But that takes practice and skill. So I like Amy, where you gave some specifics of things you can try that give it a more structure
Yeah.
and more manageability.
And again, that intention matters. Even if it's just pressing your feet into the floor, like just sitting in your chair and imagining your feet going in deeper into the floor. One of my practitioners will say, imagine roots coming out of the bottom of your feet and anchoring into the center of the earth. Just that visual that I will do for 30 freaking seconds will literally ground you and help slow that part of your brain down, and that you can look at it, you can touch the grief without it flooding and overwhelming. And that's what I think we need to really, with this whole idea of overwhelm and flood, is we need to learn how to touch it and hold it and look at it and be with it just a little bit longer at a time. And I also really want to validate what you're saying there, because what you're saying is true. Going through divorce and having to work and run a business and raise 4 children and all the things, I can look back now and see what a gift that was to have to be on a schedule and have a routine of some sort in my life while dealing with the most intense grief of my life. It did give me purpose, intention, not distraction, maybe healthy distraction, but different ways that me as a person can live and be used. I mean, I had a job where I helped people. I made people's lives easier, and that created some purpose outside of this really huge, awful, hard thing that I was going through. And I think it helps to titrate the intensity of grief when it's so big and when we're talking about this big, overwhelming kind of experience. So, getting involved in something, again, doesn't have to be huge, but getting involved in something outside of, yeah, that bubble, that space that we can drown in, pop the bubble and you don't drown. Like, is the visual that I'm hearing when you said that. Because if we just zip ourselves up, then yeah, you can absolutely drown in it. So I think sometimes you need to poke holes in it and let it spew out a little bit. Go for a walk, go to a park, walk a dog, just something like that can pop a hole in that where it doesn't drown you.
Mhm. And this being all said, like, there is that incubator period that you need in your healing. So I'm not, if like you're in the incubator period
Mhm.
where you're like, I can't do anything right now other than exist, be in
Mhm.
your incubator right now. And then there will come a time in a season where you'll start to know that it starts time to start branching out. When I went through my first D-Day, I was 9 months pregnant. Couple weeks later, I had my baby. Like, there was no
Yeah.
my kids ate cold cereal, breakfast,
Uh-huh.
lunch, and dinner for months. Like, there was nothing during that period. But then there did come a time that I saw the need to not be in it all day long, and me thinking about it all day long, and those ruminating thoughts and the spinning and the reliving the past. I had to start taking control of what was happening in my own brain and in my own body. And that's where I had power, that nobody else had power for that but me. And so learning that, well, A, first it pissed me off because like I didn't choose this. But
Yeah.
once I finally accepted that this was my reality and that I was in control of that healing, it was empowering because then I could start doing something with it.
Yes. Well, and what you just said right there again just validates. I think I said this in our in last episode. Like your body is wise. It knows how to handle and process and be with this in this grief. We don't have to be afraid of it. It isn't here to destroy you. It is here to move something through you so that it doesn't destroy you later. That's when the coming out sideways starts to happen. And like me, you pop out a rib. Your body will start to like pop literally because it needs to move through. It's designed. It knows how to do that. There's such a level of increased self-trust here. We talk about trust breach and how betrayal absolutely destroys that for us, that trust in this other person, but in ourselves. And I think using grief, emotion, whatever emotion we're trying to feel and process through, there can be a level of self-trust that you're cultivating when you trust your body to process it. And you can start to see, oh, because that was my experience, even again, just recently with this whole rib thing, like leaning into the pain and going, oh, okay, stay here. I know why you're here, grief. I know exactly why you showed up, and honoring it and validating it. And at that point, just shifting my session with my practitioner going, oh, okay, no, actually, it needs to be here. I know why it's here. And I tried to touch my rib and place my hands on it and be more loving towards it. That shift right there, my body was welcoming it and it started to settle. It started to ease. It just needed me to see it and honor it.
It's beautiful. See and honor.
Takes practice. I would
Yeah.
have done, that's not how I responded a decade ago.
Oh, it so takes practice. Okay. So let's go over just some tools you can use to make it more manageable. First tool is name what's happening. You know the phrase name it to tame it?
Mhm.
It can sound like, "Oh, I'm shutting down right now. That's a protector part showing up. This is a lot and my body's trying to protect me right now." Or, "Okay, I'm flooded. I see that. It's okay for me to just notice that and I'm going to get grounded." So
Mhm.
say it and say it out loud so
Yes.
you can hear it in your own voice. That's why I love having Amy because she is a safe person that I can say things out loud that not only do I hear it out of my own mouth and in my own ears, that's helpful in hearing to me, but then having a safe person reflect back and validate. So saying it out loud, even if it's just to yourself in the mirror.
Mhm. Mhm. And then pace yourself with this. Like we said, we don't need to fire hose this one one clamp at a time because it's grief is the cycle. It's not, we don't put a period at the end of this. Throughout your life and the stages that we experience in life, we're going to talk about acceptance next week. And I'm going to go into more around this. But my mom always says it's not a period, it's a comma. And so put that comma. When am I going to comma today? I'm just going to do this today. So pace yourself with processing.
Mhm.
Watch when your brain goes, I shouldn't be here. I thought I did this already. I should be better by now. Those types of statements, just when you hear your brain offer you that, that's a cause for pause and just slow down.
I love that. The shoulds.
Mm,
Anytime there's a should, that's a waving flag to just, hey, there's probably some shame here. And let's just slow down and actually look at that. And a lot of my clients need somebody else with the shoulds to help them because a lot of times by the time we're saying should, we internalize that should. So sometimes it's harder to unravel that. So if you're new to this work and new to recognizing the shoulds, having a therapist, a coach, a friend help you sort through the shoulds, that can be really helpful too.
yeah. Yeah. But staying grounded, like I said, hands on heart, feet on the ground, and just noticing the direction of the sun. When I do this with clients and orienting to where self, notice the sun in the direction that you are standing into in accordance to the sun. Just that sense of direction of self will help ground you and help slow down that part of the brain that we've been talking about today.
With grounding, I will assign clients like get online and just type in ideas for grounding because there are so many different ways you can ground. So look through that and see what resonates with you. I have some clients where they will go garden because their hands in the earth is the quickest thing that will ground their body.
Mhm.
For others, the idea of their hands touching dirt is like, no, thank you. But for them, sitting in deep breathing is
Yep.
what will help re regulate them. Others, the thought of breathing actually makes them really anxious. So they do better with eyes open and naming things around the room that they see. So,
Mhm.
however, you're wired, look at those ideas, see what resonates with you, and practice a few of them and notice what your individual body responds to. Because grounding, 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 I can't emphasize enough the power that is to help you and allow you to do the rest of your work.
Yep. Yep.
The dual awareness concept is you allow yourself to be in something, but you have something physical with you to help ground you to your body in the present moment. So it can look like I'm going to allow myself to cry and feel, but I'm going to hold on to a cold glass of water. And I'm going to notice my cold glass of water while also allowing myself to feel. Or I'm going to wrap a blanket around me and I'm going to feel the comfort of the blanket while also letting in some of that sadness. I'm going to look at a picture, let's say, of my grandmother who passed because she gives me strength while also allowing myself to journal and feel really weak and broken right now.
I do this with
And that
music. If I feel like I
Yeah.
really need to like push myself over the edge there, I have a couple of playlists. And so I'll put on some music and say the words out loud and feel the emotion of that grief along with it.
Mhm. Yeah. And so having that duality allows you to grieve, but almost in a way of like, I'm not going too deep into it because I need something physical to hold on to. So anchors.
Gotcha.
And they could be spiritual anchors, they could be physical anchors, they could be things that you see, you touch. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that dual awareness.
And I think just lastly, notice your trigger points that contribute to the cycle. We're all cyclical. We talk about this all the time. Think just knowing your body better, knowing your cyclical patterns can also help you know where you might be in the cycle of grief. That has been an interesting awareness for me. I think I've mentioned this before, but I just use other people. I'm sure there's an app. I'm sure I know. Don't write in. I am sure there's an app that does this really well. But for me, because it's just easy, I will pull up my calendar on my phone. In my calendar, I just really quickly write the emotion or whatever I'm noticing that day, the overarching experience I'm having that day. I'll just put it in my phone. And that way I can go on my calendar and go, well, we're on the second of the month. Look at the pattern. I know that I am irritated around the first through third of every month. Irritation is my friend. So just starting to notice your cyclical patterns can be really helpful as you are grieving, because that too has helped me identify the overwhelm where it feels like, what's wrong? I thought I was doing well. Why is this feeling so big right now? Because I'm on this part of my cycle as a human. It's adding to the intensity. It doesn't mean that something is wrong or going wrong necessarily in my life. Does that make sense? So I think putting some of these pieces together too for yourself, like, how am I as a human experiencing grief as a cyclical being? And grief is also cyclical, not linear. So we're trying to interweave two cycles. And that is a journey in itself to try and figure out. So that's one thing that helps me, is to just start writing down and noting the patterns so that I don't go, oh my gosh, my life is over. Everything's going wrong. Oh, no, this is this part of my human cycle. I'm not dismissing part of the grief, but I don't need to catastrophize it and make it bigger, kind of like what you were talking about. I need to make it bigger than what it is.
Yeah, I really like that because my brain's going a lot of different directions, but I think when you notice big things like around holidays and anniversaries,
Yeah.
my window of tolerance decreases. And I've moved through that part of my own healing journey. But as I go back, I was like, yeah, when I was in those first couple of years, didn't matter the holiday, any event that had expectations, like take my window of tolerance and like cut it in half,
Yeah.
what I normally had. And then I even think of like today, not when the recording will air, but the actual today, there's a full moon. The amount of my clients who are dysregulated, the couple of days around a full moon, I don't know what happens in human bodies, I remember actually I was in Mexico doing this tour for Mayan culture, and they said that in their culture, they had a lot of rituals around the moon, and it had to do with the level of water in our body. And the moon, when it was a full moon, did something to the water in our body. And so, anyway,
Yes, yes, it's a thing.
yeah. So I think about, okay, so then we have like these cyclical patterns of the moon. And then I think about a woman with her menstrual cycle. And one of my clients, she called it her blood truth. And she said, during my cycle of blood truth, it this time brings truth more to the surface.
Yeah.
And because my emotions are all more amplified, it allows me greater clarity of what I'm actually okay with and not okay with. And so she uses that as an opportunity to see truth. And I was like, oh, that's a cool, interesting way to look at it. But even that's a cyclical pattern. So you have all of these layers and levels. And it's not your job if you're like, Alana, you're hurting my brain. You don't have to figure out all of this. You don't have to analyze all of this. But what I invite you to do with this is let this be a gentle awareness of you're not crazy. You are a human being having a human experience impacted by all these other things. And just as you start to understand a little bit more some of these impacts, then what I would love for you to do with it is then be able to take that self compassion and that grace into your healing and be more gentle with yourself.
Lean into your body, trust it, listen to it, believe it. It knows how it knows how to do this. It was designed to know how to be with grief and process grief. Talk about the acceptance stage of the grief cycle next week, because this is where I see a lot of us humans get stuck. So that is going to be our next episode next week. So join us for that one. I promise that I'll go easy. It's a hard one. That's a hard one. Which is why we're going to talk about it.
Well, it's funny because the way my brain would be is like, get me to the acceptance part, because that means I feel better. And so when you say it's a hard one, if I were listening to this, I'd be like, why? Don't tell me that it's hard. That's what I need. That's what I want. Give me acceptance.
No one wants to accept the truth.
But yeah, accepting what is reality and how to do that and how that truly is a key to healing. So, wherever you are in this, if you find yourself shutting down right now, it's okay. You're protecting yourself. And if you find yourself drowning right now, you're not doing it wrong. It's just a lot. And let's add in some manageability skills so it doesn't have to be so hard. So, wherever you are, grief is not the enemy. It is helping you heal and move forward, as hard and painful as it is. And I will tell you, on the other side of grief, the depth as a human that it gives you, the way it can allow you to have that post traumatic growth. Grief is a gift that can give you a refining to you and your soul and who you are as a person in such beautiful ways if you let it. And
Mm.
so, just if you can let me hold that meaning for you until you're ready to hold that meaning for yourself, that this healing is, will be, can be all for your greater good in the end. And it sucks and it hurts right now. And I hold you in that.
Mm.
Mhm. So, as always, we love hanging out with you each week. Thank you for being with us. And we look forward to seeing you all next week.
Hey friends, it's Hallie Roderick here, and I wanted to personally invite you to an incredible opportunity coming up this summer. From July 8th to 11th, Luke Gordon and I will be co-facilitating a Help Her Heal intensive for men in Spanish Fork, Utah. And if you're a man who's serious about rebuilding trust, creating emotional safety, and doing the deep work of repair after betrayal, this space is created specifically for you. This 4-day intensive is not a lecture series. It's a deeply experiential process designed to help you feel the shift, not just understand it intellectually. Together, we'll explore powerful tools and practices to help you develop real empathy, shame resiliency, and a clear understanding of betrayal trauma so you can begin to show up as a safe, trustworthy partner again. You'll also have the opportunity to connect with other men who are on the same path. Men also committed to growth, their integrity, doing the hard work, and the beautiful work of relationship repair. So, whether you're just beginning this process or you're well on your way, this intensive can be a powerful next step in your journey towards healing. So, if you're ready to move forward, we'd love to have you join us. So, to learn more or to reserve your spot, check out the show notes where you'll find a link to reach out to our office. So, let's do this work together. Hope to see you in Utah.